Hey everybody, today's video I want to touch on some things that are quite a bit concerning. I'm going to talk about it based around these two doctors in Bakersfield that talked about with the coronavirus how we may not necessarily need to be on lockdown. If you haven't seen it, it's worth watching. It got pulled down from YouTube, so it created a big kind of, fuss, if you will. And there's also a lot of smart people saying different things on both sides. So the first thing I want to talk about related to this is a logical fallacy. Let's jump over there. Called the appeal to authority. It's important to understand logical validity to argumentation when you're actually looking for truth. And I'm talking about truth. I'm not talking about hype that we see on the news all the time, which isn't about truth. It's about manipulation. So first off, let's look at what the appeal to authority is. It's basically saying that a claim is true because a valid authority or expert on the issue said it was true without any supporting evidence offered. Great example, Richard Dawkins, an evolutionary biologist and foremost expert in the field, says evolution is true, therefore it's true. Obviously, just because this guy is a biologist and said something doesn't make it true. There's a lot more data and other, points and premises that would need to be made for this statement to be made true. So let's apply this to the situation with these doctors in their video. This is actually gone. It's been taken down. People called it fake news, violating the terms of service. And I'll give YouTube, I won't give them a pass, but I will say a lot of this is bots and people reporting videos on purpose. It has nothing to do with their real TOS or what YouTube may actually think. So these doctors come on. They own urgent care centers. Some people didn't even call them doctors. I looked it up. Looks like they appear to be doctors. And they basically said, based on their testing, tons of people in the population have had it, and thus the death rate is super low, equivalent to flu, not a big threat, etc. So one thing is they kind of give, not explicitly but indirectly, kind of show the cards that they are probably more right Trump supporters. So that's what's really going on here. A lot of people, if they didn't say that, there'd probably be more credibility to this video. So even Elon Musk, a guy who's created some pretty crazy technologies, pretty smart guy, I would say, says they have some docs make good points. And I went through these things, and, the math is off, and you're going to get us all killed, fact check, blah, blah, blah. I mean, some of these people are like, no, you're an idiot, Elon Musk. Listen to the doctors. Well, these guys are two doctors, right? I mean, sorry, let's get rid of that. There is a flaw saying that, for example, I've tested 1,000 patients in this local area and seen this, and that doesn't necessarily apply to the whole country or the whole world, right? It's a model. It's a guess. It's a theory. So what I would say, there are flaws in the model. For one, yes, these doctors just saying what they've seen can apply to the broader population in California or the US. Yeah, that's, there's some issues there because that data may not pan out. I mean, all of science does not guarantee truth. It necessarily cannot guarantee truth. And in fact, it actually gives us probabilities. If you throw something and it falls to the ground, right? People talk about gravity. There's a 99.9% chance that's going to happen, but it's still a probability. It is not a guarantor of truth. Now, people, Trump says something and people say, oh no, listen to the doctors. He's not a doctor. Doctors say something, fake news, right? So obviously there's a contradiction there. What makes these guys less of experts than Fauci or the WHO? One could argue that they are on the ground floor fighting and basing their models off of at least actual cases, not basing it off of theoretical models, right? So there's one point in their favor. Does their data, extrapolate people coming in to be tested for coronavirus, out to the broader population versus a random sampling of people across the nation and across California. Obviously, their data is going to be somewhat skewed with some kind of variance, but it is probably way more accurate than the initial models where they said we're going to have 25 million people sick here, flatten the curve, and it's less. But it wasn't even it wasn't even 100,000 people in California. The models were wildly off. So these guys are probably closer. Secondly, is this fake news? No, I'm sorry. This is not fake news. It's not even news. Fake news is saying Donald Trump said drink bleach when he actually said let's test internal injecting of disinfectants or something. I don't know what he's talking about. Did he know of some procedure that could work that we don't know of? That's possible. Was he just kind of talking about ideas? And most of us are like, dude, obviously you can't just inject disinfectant. Maybe so, and he made a stupid comment. That's possible, but he did not say drink bleach. That's fake news. These guys, they're giving some data. They're giving a opinion based on what they've actually seen in actual cases. Nowadays, we have a lot of scientific theory with, the origins of humanity and climate change, and actual science is testing and experimenting in a controlled environment around a hypothesis. So there's a ton of archaeology, history, physics, like a lot of things that are actually at their core pure speculation. Now I want to hop back over here. Appeal to authority. Because these guys are doctors does not make it true. Because Fauci is a doctor and he is the face of whatever does not mean it's true. Because a group of doctors think something and they have authority does not mean that the idea is valid. We've had plenty of examples of in chemistry, in physics, etc., where the general populace or a group of quote experts thought something was true and it was found out to be false. Though obviously there's debate about flat earth nowadays. Without getting into it, tons of people thought the earth was flat and it being round was ridiculous. Without getting into the modern day debates about that, here was a group of people who thought, the world's flat. Plenty of experts thought, slaves and black people from Africa were more like monkeys and less human. And so, they were, these quote experts and politicians rationalized that they were, it was okay to have slaves and it would hurt the economy to not have them. And, all these things. So experts have many times been wrong. I've been to a doctor and been to another doctor and gotten wildly different opinions. Anyways, I was debating someone and they said, the ACEP, right, American College of Emergency Physicians, made a statement about these guys' video. And they said it was, widespread, misinformation's widespread and dangerous and reckless and untested. Well, they did test. They're actually talking about actual cases. So, I don't care how old the ACEP is. I don't care how many physicians they have. They need to actually bring data that refutes what these guys are saying. I've even made a point that you can't just take a small sampling that's not even random in a hyper-local area and apply it to a whole state or whole country. There's one flaw. It doesn't mean their points are useless. It doesn't mean it's fake news and they should have their YouTube deleted, their video deleted. Down here they actually make a few points. But one thing we need to be careful of is saying, because this guy said it's true, and he's an authority. He's the president. He's the doctor. He's the, leader of the task force. Sorry, but they could still have a false argument, false belief, false assertion, false premises. So it's not so simple as, these guys are two guys in Bakersfield, and the ACEP, they have all these doctors and been around for years, and that's the real problem. Now let's take this even deeper. The issue at hand is solving and understanding the problems of coronavirus. We have even a very smart guy noticing some of these points. I noticed they made some good points. I noticed they had a few flaws. But I would say that their points that the death rate is probably off, the lockdown is probably less needed in certain areas, is probably closer to accurate than the theoretical models they came out with, where the governor of California is talking about 25 million people are going to get this, and it wasn't even, 10% of that. It wasn't even close to that amount of people that got this in California. So we need to keep these things in mind. But the problem is, people won't think for themselves. They read this and they're like, oh, you're an idiot. You're not a doctor. Trump said it's true. It's not true. Hydroxychloroquine. We have to look at these arguments and issues independently of who said them. The ACEP has a lot of doctors. They might say something that is logically valid, that's scientifically valid. Or they could make a mistake and it may not be valid. Elon Musk, he could say something wrong, right? So just saying, oh, this is reckless, that doesn't actually refute anything. They talk about what I talk about, how you can't extrapolate this to a broader population. But again, it doesn't mean it's fake news and it's worthless. So they're definitely, just trying to push that this whole thing is people are even saying these guys aren't real doctors. I don't know them personally. I did some research. Looks like they're doctors. They're on WebMD or whatever. They'd probably get in some big trouble if they were claiming to be doctors and weren't. They're not just owners of these urgent care facilities. In case you didn't know, they own these urgent care facilities. So these uberly dramatic things talking about expert this, expert that. Well, these guys are doctors. They're experts at an urgent care. So if you're basing it on that, their opinion is way more valid than a Fauci because he hasn't actually treated patients in years. And Fauci could have all the credentials and still be an idiot. He might make terrible arguments, or he could make great arguments. Again, you can't just appeal to credentials and say, oh, well, the president said this. Oh, well, this person's a doctor. They said this. This is the kind of stuff that is potentially going to collapse our society. People can't see through this. If people are just posting links, oh, well, this expert said this, well, the other side can say, well, these experts said this, right? What qualifies as an expert? Forget about what qualifies as an expert, and let's look at logically, scientifically valid ideas. It's not such an either or, like, I read, Trump supporters are pushing these guys. Well, they could be Trump supporters and be pushing something that's true or something that's false. We have to look at the actual data and actual points that they make. It's not because it came from CNN it's wrong, because it came from Trump it's wrong, right? This happens on both sides. But what's scary is these guys being called fake news, getting their video deleted when they were making some valid points, even though there's some room for error there. So, guys, people, girls, whatever, think for yourself. Don't just follow the drone of this bipartisan left, right, whatever. If these guys make plausible points, great. If they make completely crazy points, fine. The people running the show, right? The Faucis, the Birxes, the models, wherever they got their models were wildly off. California, 99% off, basically, if you want to look at it that way. So we can't just rely on, this guy's the head of whatever. Who cares, right? He's older. We could argue that he's less entrenched in what's actually going on in the science. You ever been to an older doctor that had some old school ideas? I did. I had some doctor for my shoulder. I had an issue and he said, well, don't use it too much, too little. You have arthritis. And I went to a younger guy who actually gave me some options. Again, Fauci could still say something right even if he's old, right? But the point is we have to actually look at the issues and stop playing this game of left, right. Oh, these guys said it. They tend to be more right, so we need to do whatever we can and report them on YouTube and get it deleted. Do you guys actually want to get through the coronavirus? Do you want to get through reality, or do you want to see society collapse because everything is based on emotion and feelings, and it's reckless, it's dangerous. This isn't dangerous. Listen to their thing. Listen to the video. Other people posted it. Watch it. Think for yourself if it sounds plausible. Think of the holes that could be there. Read the counter arguments. If you want to have the strongest argument on your side, you better understand the counter arguments to the other side. Just posting, oh, well, this other doctor said this is, totally logically invalid and totally irrelevant. So don't get sucked into that trap. Don't get sucked into the media trap of nonsense, and support people like this actually trying to bring some truth, even if it's not 100% or they're off a bit. At least this isn't fake news, and it's not dangerous. So that's just total nonsense. People are saying the virus is not as deadly as they thought. Now many people will admit that, many on both sides. And we can argue about how deadly or not it is, but it's not fake news. This isn't people talking about, I don't know, sniff bee pollen and you'll be safe or something. And these guys have plenty of credibility. Otherwise, you better be able to defend why your expert is more credible than them without actually getting to the points, which is my main point, that we need to separate this left, right, whatever, and look at, is this point true? Does it have validity? Is it more valid than this? Is the data more accurate? And operate out of that versus this false, oh, it's right, we need to attack it. Oh, it's left, we just need to attack it and report them and get them deleted and all that stuff. Because that's nonsense, and it doesn't actually accomplish anything. So we're not dealing with reality. We're not solving these problems. Then either some people who realize that, who are really smart, some elitists, they say these idiots, will control them because we know what's going on, or things just all implode and collapse. I'll get into that in later videos, but check out the video, comment, tell me what you think, and have a good rest of your day.